Good morning. So my name is Laura Gusberti, and I am the teacher for this sustainability lesson. I would like to tell you a little bit about my background. So first of all, I would like to know if the participants are all there. So my background is in biology. I have worked in biotech companies, and then I decided to leave to pursue a master in sustainability environmental studies, and therefore, because this is my passion, and then started to work for governmental bodies on sustainability schemes, environmental schemes, and sustainable energy projects. So today I am going to teach you about the first lesson is about the fundamentals of sustainability. And I will share with you shortly my presentation. Okay. So I hope you can now see my presentation. And I would like to understand if all the participants are online now. You can unmute yourself and or send me on the chat. Okay. So I will start with the unit, and this unit is about sustainability, the concept of sustainability, the concept of corporate social responsibility. Of course, in this unit, we will examine the relationship between sustainability, resilience, business growth, social responsibility, explore why is the urgency about talking and implementing sustainability, understand what are the role of private enterprises and innovation, and emphasize the importance of international collaboration and explore different ethical perspectives. So these are the 5 different points that we'll explore in this unit, and each one corresponds to a specific lesson. Of course, we live in an era where we can no longer ignore the impact that humans have had on the environment. Now it's demonstrated that climate change is an issue that has been caused by human activity. So in this unit, we will explore and cover the fundamentals of sustainability and the related concepts. So to make sure that everyone understands why sustainability is so important. In this lesson specifically, we will examine the definition of sustainability, the definition of corporate social responsibility, and the differences between them and how they relate to economic and business growth and their resilience. So first of all, we can have a look at the definition of sustainability. And the definition that is mostly adopted, but also the one that covers thoroughly the concept, is the definition coming from the Brundtland report, Our Common Future. And sustainability is defined as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. Why is that? This definition has been the work of the people working on this commission that has been established by the UN. So it's the World Commission on Environment and Development. And this commission was chaired by the Prime Minister of Norway, Mrs. Brundtland. So that's called the outcome of the work of this commission. It's called the Brundtland Report, Our Common Future. And in this report, the topic of sustainability has been to the forefront to enable humanity to go forward in a different way. So the concept of sustainability and sustainable development were formed. So this report has also laid the foundation for the Rio Summit. So that started in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, which was a strategic place to start this summit, because at the time one of the most burning issues was the degradation of the forest, the Brazilian forest. Now, this commission in 2013 has been replaced by the High-Level Political Forum, and this is the forum that is now discussing and reviewing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development with its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Now, sustainability has at its foundation the three pillars of sustainability, which are the environmental pillar, the social pillar, and the economic pillar. Of course, to allow sustainable development, not only the economic growth is important, so not only we need to develop economically and have a growing economy for all to benefit, but also it's really, really important that we look at how we use resources on which our economy depends. So environmental sustainability, it's important. So we need to maintain those resources in the environment. The environment needs to be able to regenerate the resources that we use. And social sustainability, we need to make sure that society also grows in terms of fairness. So everybody have opportunity, fair opportunity, and we allow the communities to grow as well around businesses. So this slide is just to make a little bit of a visual impact on what sustainable development or sustainability mean, because this concept, social, environmental, and economic sustainability, they are not three separate concepts, they overlap. And when the three of them overlap, we reach the state of sustainable business, sustainable development. So, of course, if, both, and you can also see how if only two of them overlap, for example, if the development is environmentally sustainable and socially sustainable, we arrive to a bearable condition and equitable conditions when social and economic development interact. But we really need the three areas to overlap so that if our society grows towards an environmental and social and economic sustainable society, all the three areas are important. Now, when we look at, good morning, Dalia. Can you hear me? Hello? You can unmute yourself? Hello? Okay, so I just wanted to know that you can hear me properly because I've already started my lesson. So you can join the lesson, the beginning of the lesson from the recording. Also, if you can hear me, I would like you to ask a question as we go along, if anything I explain is not clear. And I will continue with the presentation now, explaining the key concepts of sustainability. Please let me know if there is anything you would like me to explain a little bit differently. So when we look at sustainability, we look at the three aspects, as I mentioned before. So both environmental and social sustainability are as important as economic sustainability. So when we look at environmental sustainability, we look at using and managing natural resources in a balanced way, wise way. So we don't want that these natural resources run out or are becoming permanently depleted or damaged. We want to make sure that when we use resources, nature is able to replenish them in a natural way so that we can use these resources over and over again. When we look at social sustainability really focuses on people. So that means that we need to create fair conditions for people. So if we look at in a business context, for example, it involves these fair wages, safe working conditions. When we look in a social context, more equal opportunities for all. Equal opportunities for all, and strong communities. So when we look at economic sustainability, that means building a sustainable or a resilient business or a resilient economy that can grow over time, not in the short term, but more in the longer term. So we need to sacrifice, if we want a sustainable economy, we need to sacrifice sometimes short-term gain in favor of longer-term development that may incur short-term cost, but will result in a much better business in terms of resilience and in a much longer-term profit or gain. So as I was explaining before, these three pillars of environment, social, and economic sustainability are interconnected. And if we only look at the economic sustainability or the economic viability of a business, we know we are going to compromise on the social and environmental aspect. So a longer term and a better resilient business relies on all three pillars. If we are, by contrast, looking at corporate social responsibility, this is the concept of sustainability adapted to, or let's say, adopted within a corporation or within an organization. when corporations, organizations, they adopt corporate social responsibility policy, they act as corporate citizenship. So they are more acting as a responsible actors in terms of dealing with the environment or dealing with society. So corporate social responsibility, it's a good way for organizations to present themselves as responsible. And we know that nowadays people that are looking for jobs also are looking for this type of credential from companies. And sometimes corporate social responsibility comes across as unsustainable. So what is called greenwashing? For example, I have introduced a link here of example of greenwashing that you can look at in your own time. So we know that when the claims that are done by organizations are not really sustainable, we talk about greenwashing. So they put up a face of, okay, we are doing this much. However, when we look at the action that is taken, the actions are not corresponding to the claim. For example, there is an example of Coca-Cola, putting out a new type of drink, claiming that has more plant ingredients. However, it turns out that that drink called Life, I think, in fact is containing as much sugar, or if not almost as much sugar as the normal Coca-Cola, and therefore it's not really a healthy type of drink as advertised. Or other example more relating to the environment, where certain companies, I think it's Lavazza, have put out a claim that the pots for the coffee that they were selling were completely recyclable. However, this could be also an oversight in terms that different countries have different way of recycling their waste. And it turned out that in Canada, these pods were not recyclable, and therefore a lot of these recycled material, in fact, ended up in landfill. Therefore, when the company makes a claim, really they need to make sure that the claim is correct, and it's a fair claim. Dalia, I see that you muted yourself. I just wanted to understand if you had any questions, or because I couldn't hear anything you were saying. Hello?
Do you hear me?
Yes, okay.
Hello, morning. Yes, until now, I think everything is reasonable to me. Even though that I have to search to the greenwashing examples, that's the point. That's only the point. But everything is okay. As I see that the difference between sustainability and CSR, that I think sustainability is like long-term thing for the environment and the future generation. That's what I understood. And the CSR, I think it's for like corporations might make like a donation or something to like local schools or something, but in the same time they can make pollution. So I think
Yeah, in terms of the definition is not only a long term or a shorter term. I mean,
Yeah.
sustainability is more a wider concept that regards
Yes.
the whole of society. So the
Yes.
whole of, exactly. Corporate social responsibility regards in particular corporation. So it's their choice to take on a certain stand where they want to operate sustainably. And there are, as we will see going forward, there are advantages for the corporation itself, for the
Mm-hmm.
organization itself, not only on the point of view of advertising, if you wish, themselves as
Mm-hmm.
sustainable and so gain maybe more consumer, attract more consumer, but also they have real benefit of, for example, using resources sustainably. So, for example, having a supply chain that is sustainable so that they can over and over again take resources from that supply chain without damaging it. Or, for example, insurance, lower insurance cost because they impact the environment in a sustainable way, and therefore the insurance company are more willing to insure them. Or even, investors attraction in terms that they will attract more funds if they act in a sustainable way. So, yeah, corporate social responsibility is more, if you want, limited to the corporation, to an organization, but it's, adopting this type of concept by many organizations that make then the society more sustainable, if you wish.
Yes.
Make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you.
Okay. So here there are also some concepts like the triple bottom line that is like how, and there will be a video. If there is any problem with the links or the video, you let me know. There is a video here that explains. You can look at it at your own in your own time,
Yes.
where triple bottom line basically is the corporation or organization adopting the and operating within the three pillars. So how they can be environmentally respect the environment, how they can be contributing to society or to their employees so that they are treated fairly, how they can look at the economic aspect, which is also the reason why corporation exist. So but all within a unique or one single framework, and taking into account and balancing all these aspects so that their business is not only stronger, is not only more resilient, but also more long-term, producing profit into the long term. So one
Yes.
issue, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Can see. Thank you.
So one issue that it's coming up, in terms of how. Also, sorry, let's take a break here because I wanted to understand from the beginning a little bit your background, so that I can go into more details or less details of this
Yes.
concept. So,
Okay.
how familiar are you with the concept of sustainability?
I just take a look, read to the definition of sustainability. Like it's for that I am like civil engineer
Okay.
with experience for infrastructure, but I'm willing to make like a shift career to environmental. Environmental and sustainability in UK. I'm based in UK, but I'm like new, but I have like like small definitions in my mind about sustainability and the environment. So I think I have a look. Read to the first, like the definition of CSR and the sustainability, but I didn't go too far with the unit one. I'm still in the I think is the second part of the unit one, and I didn't go further. So.
Okay.
Yes, that's my point.
That's fine. It's just for me to, of course, you're here to learn, and therefore, I just to understand. Maybe I will give you a little bit more on the environmental aspect, so that because you have an engineering background. I have a biology background, and so the two things they really, to have a thorough understanding. Maybe, yeah.
Yes. I'm just. I want. I have. I had the diploma to the scope to learn more about the environment and how to match it with the civil works and the
Okay.
infrastructure work. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Thank
perfect.
you.
Okay, so let's continue with the lesson. And so I was actually touching on this concept of the tragedy of the commons, which is basically the idea that certain resources, in particular when they are public goods or shared resources, they are tended to be exploited in the interest of a single person, or anyway, people tend to exploit them in their own interest without caring that this could damage the resource itself or other individuals, because we always assume that certain goods like water or air, they are actually available for everybody, unlimited. They are unlimited resources. However, this is not the case. And we are now, more and more understanding that this type of behavior is a behavior that is not sustainable. And we look at the system thinking in a different unit. So we will look at how, in fact, sustainability is not a concept for a specific issue or a specific instance or a specific organization, but it's actually, we need to really thinking in system. So it's a system strategy where we are working more on a network-based strategy rather than on an individual basis. So when we look at, so we were looking at the sustainability and corporate social responsibility. So as we were mentioning briefly before, corporate social responsibility is a choice, is of the corporation, of the organization, to operate in a way that is affecting the environment, society in a positive way. And they don't do this just because they want to be good or they want to be, really do, they are not charities, a corporation. Corporations do this because that is really positive for the organization itself. As I said before, that way they can attract more employees or attract more investments or attract more funds towards them. So it's sometimes they need maybe to sacrifice a bit on terms of profit, but for a larger benefit for the organization overall. So another definition, for example, of corporate social responsibility is the one of Carroll's, and you will see then there are some references at the bottom of this presentation where you can, explore this in a wider way. So corporate social responsibility is defined as 4 layers of responsibility for the organization. An economic responsibility, because of course the corporation exists to make money, to make profit, but also there is a legal layer also, legal responsibility as, even the governments have become stricter, for example, on certain environmental parameters, so the polluter pays principle, for example, where, if a company or an organization is polluting, then they are fined or they are legally prosecuted. So there is a legal responsibility, an ethical responsibility that sometimes also organizations adopt, because they want to go over and above what is the bare minimum of that is required by the law, and also philanthropic responsibilities, where the as you mentioned also before, the organization, they do some voluntary contribution towards maybe some charities or some projects to benefit society, so that they are seen as like almost a partner, and they are seen in a positive way, and this attracts also customers. So both sustainability and corporate social responsibility have a long-term view of their action. As I mentioned before, is sustainability is a wider concept, and the focus is more on the balancing the three pillars: environmental, social, and economic concept within a society. But the corporate social responsibility is a choice made by a company with a duty to act responsibly within these three areas. So if you look at the titles, I have either put a subtitle with some point, because these are the points, like, for example, describe the most used definition of sustainability, and here explain how sustainability differs. So these are the points that you will be asked to answer in the assessment, in the assignment that is at the end of the unit. So this will be easy for you to go through, the slides and see which content relates to the specific points. So just that is super easy, for you to revise. So a little bit, we already covered a little bit of this point, what is the difference between sustainability and corporate social responsibility. And I think we already covered the first one, where corporate social responsibility is business focused, while sustainability is a broader. But also, there is a difference in scope and intention, because sustainability is about the long-term survival, but the long-term survival, I would say, of our society, of humankind. If we want to live on this planet with these resources, we cannot do anything else but behave sustainably. Otherwise, if we deplete the resources, at the end of the day, our economy depends on these resources. So, there will be no economy if there is no healthy environment and a healthy society. While, the scope of the CSR is really limited to the company itself or to the organization itself. Also, we already spoke about, the reputational damage and that greenwashing can have on a company, because in this era of communication, it's so easy for government or activists or how do you say, bodies, authorities that are checking on a specific standard to find faults. And if, there are claims of sustainable behavior that are not as such, then they are, found out and advertised as greenwashing. And that is a huge reputational damage for the company. Companies that are pretending to be green, but in reality are acting irresponsibly. We also spoke about financial risk. So if corporations behave with, using a greenwashing behavior, not only they are damaging their reputation, but also they are damaging their flow of finances, because if they breach the law, for example, they can incur in fines, legal actions, and this, of course, have costs built in them, but also they may lose investment, because they might not be so keen to promote certain behavior, because they are also monitored in that sense. They may face higher insurance costs. We already spoke about all these things. And also, again, supply chain disruption, if they do not have a positive impact on the resources that they use, then this is another risk. So I hope this is all clear for you. I don't know if you have any question. I see that you are muted.
Yeah, thank you. It's clear for me. Thank you.
Okay. So one is also, this is also another point that is required in the assessment, to analyze the reason behind the tragedies of the common and why sustainability must be approached at a systemic level. And I think we have discussed already partially this. Tragedy of the commons is using the resources in an irresponsible way. Now we know that climate change has been caused by the human action. It's now, scientifically proven, although some governments, they still are putting a blind eye over it as almost common knowledge. People are more and more understanding that we need to act sustainably. We cannot use resources in a way that, for example, impoverish the soil, or resources impoverish the soil, and therefore these soils are no longer productive. Can disrupt, supply chains of food companies, for example, and anyway, the society in a larger way, because a lot of movement of people is also due to the fact that the land is no longer productive. So anyway, this is a little bit a diversion from this, but we know that we cannot overuse resources anymore. And also, the tragedy of the common also points out to the lack of ownership. And it's always people thinking in a smaller box, if you wish, short-term thinking of the immediate benefit over the long-term benefit. So this type of thinking is now considered thinking of the past. We can no longer grow in the way, or grow companies and profit in the way we have done in the past, because we know that this produces damage that can be a long-term damage, and that it results in a poorer economy rather than a more flourishing economy. So if the use of resources has to be a responsible use of resources, and then because we cannot allow the benefit of an individual or of a company to be done at the expenses of cost that then needs to be shared by, for example, a community or a society. This is no longer the behavior that respond to the modern concept of company or sustainability. So because of this concept of the tragedies of the commons, we really need to understand that common resources are shared resources, and we cannot approach, therefore, the use of the sustainable use of resources as single actions. This needs to be tackled at a systemic level. So sustainability is a systemic effort where different actors need to work together and in an interconnected way. So the coordination of action, policies, regulation, standard, or long-term planning needs to come from the whole of society. So from government, from corporation, from international organization, from the market itself. So it is, by now I think it is very well understood that we need to work on a network level. And this, in a way, really mirrors, how our society function, but also how our environment function. We are all interconnected. We, as a society, people are all interconnected to each other, and as nature works, it's an ecosystem where different parts are really interconnected. And that's why we need to approach sustainability in a systematic way. Again, how sustainability relates to the economic growth and development. Now, so far, or at least in the last century, societies have benefited of economic growth because that meant better condition for the population, better opportunity, rising of education standard, rising of access to better condition, better living condition. And therefore, economic growth has always been the synonymous of wealth, but also better society. Now we arrive at a point where, and that is also has also been mirrored in the demographic explosion of the population. The population has grown in the last century as never grown in the past because of this better condition. But economic growth, as we have seen, that has been measured also through the GDP, or gross domestic product, now is no longer possible in those terms, because we have overused the natural resources, and now we are starting to pay the bill. So we need to act we need to talk more about economic development, where economic development is not only better profit, higher profit, but also it's a better environment, a better society. Because while certain part of humanity or society have grown enormously, others have faced worse condition, and this is not equitable, this is not just. So economic development is more about growing value rather than just the mere economic profit. So how do we link economic growth and development? Sustainability supports long-term growth. So maybe a slower growth, maybe a growth, as I say, that is not only growth in material products, but is a growth in justice, a growth in wealth and healthy environment, or a growth that is possible because material have been reused. So we can talk about circular economy, where we are not extracting any more material from the earth, but we are reutilizing material to make new materials. And therefore we add some value without depleting the environment. So sustainability support the long-term growth in this way. It also supports the long-term growth in terms of attracting investments, because for example, companies, and this is now noticeable in the market, companies with strong corporate social responsibility claim, which are true claim, they get easier access to funding and borrowing. People are also more prone to invest in this type of companies because they know that they will be in the longer term more profitable. Also innovation, we don't need to forget the importance of innovation that has in sustainable development new ways of doing things, more efficient ways of using energy, for example, so that we can, with a finite amount of energy, we can produce more. And therefore, sustainability also becomes a platform for innovation. So restricting to a certain way of operating helps, the mind to find new ways of doing things. Also improves the workforce capability in the sense that if a company operates within social sustainability, has better working conditions, and also a society that looks after their citizen in terms of offering them education or making sure that, for example, fair contracts of work are in place, or providing healthcare, all gives a healthier population and a more educated population that can really produce better. And by, of course, on the flip side, we know that unsustainable growth produce a lot of unwanted outcomes, and not last long-term economic risk. The company can go bust, or because they have to suddenly face rising costs for disaster that may occur, or in insurance, they might not insure them any longer, and therefore if something happens, they need to be responding themselves. So when we adopt sustainable practices, of course, we are more resilient from this type of shock. So again, to reiterate what I said before, sustainability shift the mindset from a short-term profit to a long-term value. So it's all about looking at our actions in a longer term. And it's a little bit, comparing how a US company or a US corporation works as opposed to a Japanese company. US companies have always had like plans in the short or mid-term, like 3-5 years business plans, while Japanese companies, which are really innovating, they have business plans of 100 years, and therefore this longer term vision make them operate differently, but also give them an economic advantage. So here there's a list of references that you can look at. I would suggest to look at the first 4 for sure, and the other ones you can look at maybe if you want to explore the concept in a little bit more depth, because the references at the bottom we will go through in the course of this unit through the concepts that are explored by these references. And so just to summarize the lesson, I would like you to refer to ebooks and journals that are on Moodle. The readings, as I said, I put a couple of links, and also you have the references for your further exploration of this concept. If you have any queries, a question, you can email learnerwork@ukuniversity.co.uk. And also for the assignment, you need to submit it at the same email. The submission of the assignment is 2 weeks after the completion of the unit. And as again, if you have any question, we have still, a few minutes for this. If you want to ask me any questions, I am here for you.
Just I want to ask about the assignment. It will be after 2 weeks from after completion of the whole unit, right?
Yeah, of the whole unit. Yeah. In this unit, there are 5 lessons. So
Yes.
we have a lesson today, we'll have another one tomorrow, and then, I'm not exactly sure for the other ones, but yeah. So the 5 lessons complete the unit. So after the 5th lesson, the unit is complete, and within 2 weeks, the assignment need to be submitted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I have no questions. Thank you for your lecture today. I was so excited. Thank you.
Okay, very, very good. You're very welcome. And I'll speak to you tomorrow again for the 2nd lesson. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.